Hey everyone, it's Mike Brennan. I'm not sure if Matt's going to be joining us today, so I'll just try to wing this on my own. I'm with Michele Wildman, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation's Executive Vice President of Economic Development Incentives and Services. Do you get all that on one business card?
Yeah, we have great visual arts people. They made it work.
Well, good. What I wanted, I published your press release a week or two ago, I guess. And in that release, you were talking about doing a lot of development work around Corktown. And as most people in the Detroit area, Corktown is just exploding right now, largely because of Ford with their big development center they have in the old train station. So I know you got a number of projects going on, and instead of me kind of messing them up and trying to explain them, why don't you explain what all's going on down there in Corktown?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, we just approved several new projects in the Corktown area. Three different projects expected to generate a total capital investment of a little over $67 million, result in the creation of 150 units of housing. And really, as you mentioned, be responsive to some of the community needs that are popping up as a result of Ford and their investment in the Michigan Central Innovation District.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I was mentioning before, my favorite bar down there is now surrounded by all these high-rise condos and whatnot for the employees that are going to be going into that Ford development. So let me ask you, how do what you're doing with the MEDC supports the city's neighborhood revitalization plan?
Yeah, well, so in 2018, just a little bit of history about the journey here. In June of 2018, at, upon Ford's announcement of the Michigan Central Station potential investment in the Corktown campus, Detroit locally launched a framework to create the Greater Corktown Neighborhood Plan to really, make sure that they had some of those planning and strategy efforts laid out to be responsive to the area and the needs that were going to pop up. They launched a 18-month planning study to understand resident impact, understand the vision and priorities for the area. And so as a part of that process, housing was one of the components that rose to the surface there. That plan calls for 840 or so mixed income housing units, and so these three projects that you're seeing will be among the first wave of those units in order to make sure that we're meeting the holistic needs of the neighborhood.
Well, I know you got three projects going now. Would that be one, or is that what you just outlined there? Is that more than one?
Yeah, there's more than one. There's three different projects. A project called Left Field, which is the construction of a new multifamily development. It's going to go on vacant land near the former Tiger Stadium. Again, creation of mixed income housing, about 53 units, along with some parking. The second, Preserve on Ash, redevelopment of about a 2-acre site in North Corktown neighborhood into 5 two-story buildings. Again, creation of mixed income units, about 69, as well as the launch of some commercial space that can be used to support some of the commercial aspects of that local strategy. And then finally, the Red Arrow redevelopment, which is the rehab of an existing historic 2-story former industrial building that'll create some additional multifamily housing in the historic Corktown district, and really help with one of our key priorities, which is, preserving and finding new uses for historical assets and communities.
All right. So you also gave a lot of support to Ford Central Innovation District. Kind of explain what happened with that.
Yeah, back in early 2022, the Michigan Strategic Fund approved a $7.5 million incentive to Ford to help support new programs that accelerate economic development, new technology activation, workforce training, as a part of that 30-acre Michigan Central Innovation District campus in the Corktown area.
Okay. And so, what are some of the recent developments that you're building on in this whole revitalization growth initiative that you're doing in Corktown? I know you guys have been real busy in Detroit overall, right?
We have, yeah. Well, and so I'll just point out that even the three housing projects are kind of an evolution of an earlier investment, right? That we made and that Ford made and is making in the area. And so, what we know is that there are the projects that we do when there's a local strategy and active engagement by local partners, as is the case here with entities like the City of Detroit and the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation. That that momentum and what we see happening here is exactly what we aim to do. By kind of harnessing and making our investments around a local strategy. And I think that you'll see that continue certainly with the NFL draft coming to Detroit and the kind of global and attention that will come to the city. Back in November, we saw Detroit was named among the best places to go in North America and the Caribbean. And so I think you've already seen some of that local momentum continue, and I think that will continue in the months and years to come as well.
Yeah, certainly when I came back to Michigan in 1995, I was working on the West Coast in Seattle for a number of years. Took a job at the Detroit Free Press. Downtown was not a real friendly place to be. And it's come a long ways, just like including the entrepreneurial ecosystem. I know that's another portfolio that you don't run, but we cover that real closely. And there used to be like just a couple of angel groups, couple of venture capital groups, and now that's exploded. So, I mean, there actually are a lot of very good things going on right now in Michigan to support growth and development. And so hats off to MEDC for all the work you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And what we know about economic development, and certainly you've heard from my colleagues I know that have been on before about our kind of make it in Michigan strategy, and I think that is indicative of what you need to do to make sure you're successful in economic development, right? Certainly the support of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, continued investments in business, and this work being critically important as well to help support existing residents in the area and create the types of amenities that we need to ensure that long-term and new growth.
And if folks want to read more about what you guys are doing there in Lansing with the MEDC, how do they do that? I know you got a great website. Why don't you give that website address?
Yeah, you can go to michiganbusiness.org and read all kinds of stuff about what we're doing. I think you can even sign up on there for some newsletters if you so choose, and you'll hear from us regularly about what we're doing or planning to do or looking for feedback on.